It started with my friend in Japan. He was a hacker and pirate, and always left his computer on, along with AIM and MSN. When he logged out on both, I assumed his computer finally died from overload. It was then I noticed all his posts on our favorite websites were gone. All his accounts, all his videos, all his comments. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Nathan, and I'm a shut-in. Agoraphobia. I live in North Carolina, and I program for a living. My sister does the shopping for me, and I live in a basement. No windows. That might very well be the only thing that's keeping me safe. I woke up a month ago at 3 a.m. and sat down at my desk, ready to work a bit, but mostly chat. That's when I noticed Chaos Rida was gone. I don't know his real name, so don't bother asking. Besides some spelling issues, he was a fairly good English speaker, and I enjoyed talking to him. He also knew everything about computers, stuff I could never imagine possible. That's why I wasn't worried. It was well within his expertise to hack into sites and delete his own posts. I assumed he had gotten sick of the internet. He had been complaining about it for years. I tried discussing his disappearance with a mutual friend. He seemed confused, like he was forgetting who Chaos was. This friend was really old. I worried about his mental health, so I decided to let it go and talk about sports a bit. By this time, 3 or 4 people had stopped logging on. Not the most unusual thing in the world. People got busy sometimes or just didn't feel like talking. Only their posts disappeared as well. Now, it had been a couple of days since Chaos went missing, and I was getting fairly freaked out, so I turned off the computer and watched TV for a while. That's when shit got scary. One of the news anchors was gone. The other would sometimes look to the spot our partner should be and look confused for a while, only to return to speaking as usual. A local show called The Three Sisters or something was now 2 sisters, and yes, the 3rd sister was gone. As with the news, sometimes there would be scenes where the 3rd sister was important, and for a moment they seemed to remember, but then they just kept acting. A cooking show just showed the studio, with no host. I am a rational man, and I was quick to rationalize everything. The news anchor wasn't used to working alone, while her partner was sick, and the show with the sisters was part of a plot. I wouldn't know. I didn't watch it. The cooking show was harder to explain. Perhaps they left the camera running while they had to leave for some reason, and the network guys didn't notice. I had calmed myself down and decided to watch something else. I got a TV guide my sister had gotten me and flipped through it. That's when I noticed the freakiest thing yet. The Two Stooges. I stared blankly at the name, squished between an old Britcom and one of those shows about how good the 50s were. It was soon to start, so I flipped over to the channel. Sure enough, the title screen said The Two Stooges. Surely this was some joke or a rip-off. But no, it started as I remembered it, only with the Stoogeless. I freaked out and turned off the TV. So here I am. It's been a month, and around 100 people are missing that I know of. My sister is gone as well. I'm posting this on every site I can, hopefully reaching as many people as I can. If you can notice the people missing as well, my name is Nate Creek, and I live in a small town in North Carolina. Please PM me as soon as possible. Hey Bob, help me out here. The man stared at the computer screen, furrowing his eyebrows. What do you want, Jem? Bob walked over look on his face. One of the AIs has a glitch. How so? I deleted several other AIs and an entertainment pack so I could install the new versions, but this AI didn't delete its memories and is panicking. I thought it was the lack of support AI, because I deleted the sister file as well, but the memory logs show it started much sooner. He's been at this computer for hours. What's he doing? Working? Creative writing? Autobiographical diary, it says. I thought we didn't install that module on this one. It's probably a glitch of some sort. Just delete and do a clean install with the others. Jim sighed. I kinda like this one. It's just a program, Jim. It's not like it's sentient. Jim watched the visual representation of Nate_Creek_5 type furiously. I guess you're right, Bob. Jim right-clicked the AI and chose delete. Weekend was the time when somebody like me, a 12-year-old boy, didn't have much to do apart from playing alone in the house. My mother kept an eye on me at all times, and I can't really blame her. After all, I think I broke every single window in this house at least twice. That's why I'm not allowed to play football indoors anymore. I was getting so bored that I decided to go up and down the stairs. Up and down, up and down. That was literally the only thing I was doing that day. Mom passed by and shouted, "Please stop fooling around," while my brother didn't even bother to say anything. Despite that, I kept on going up and down the stairs, and I started counting the stairs to kill some time. I counted 14 steps, again and again. My brother passed by once again and whispered something like, "What a numbskull." So I returned the compliment, even though he didn't really seem to listen to what I said. I went up the stairs once again, but this time I counted 16 steps. I thought that I made a mistake, since I counted the 14 steps like 10 times today, so I decided to count them again. They were 14, yeah, it must have been a mistake. That being said, I got bored of the stairs, and so I went to watch some TV instead. The following day, I resumed my routine of running around the house. I ran under the tables, went into my brother's room when he was away, and so on. I was pretty old for these things, but I was so bored that I would have done anything to kill some time. Finally, I went down the stairs and counted them once again. 18 steps. Something was wrong. I counted them again, and this time there were 15. I rushed to my brother and told him about it. He wasn't really interested, but since I kept asking, he had to get up and count them for himself. He counted 14 steps right before my eyes, then went back to his room and shut the door. I was so frustrated and confused that I decided to try something different. I covered my eyes and started going down the stairs while counting them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got to the 18th step again, but strangely enough, it wasn't the last. 19, 20, 21, 22, and I kept on counting. There seemed to have no end. It was weird. Our stairs couldn't be that long. 40, 41, 42. Where would they end? I spent over an hour going down the stairs. I was already at the 120th step and still counting. I wanted to open my eyes. The curiosity was killing me, but I wanted to reach the last step before opening my eyes. Slowly the silence faded away. leaving place for some strange whistle sounds. Step by step, other weird sounds started to appear. Rumbles, scratches, and some kind of dragging noises. The sounds were stronger and clearer with each step I took. I thought I heard a muffled scream when I finally reached the last one. The 666th step. I just froze, feeling like my throat was being choked by some kind of pressure. The sound stopped as soon as I reached the last step. I wanted to open my eyes, but I was afraid of what I would see. It was very hot, like the heat coming out of an oven or a very hot summer night. I was struggling to breathe. I was too scared to open my eyes, so I just walked around whilst feeling the walls with my hands. I reached another set of stairs going up. I wanted to get out of that place, so I just went up. As I started climbing, the sound started again. I went up one step at a time, counting them, and naturally, the last step was the 666th. I kept going forward, feeling more tired and exhausted with each step I took. It felt like I was getting weaker with each step. As I kept walking, I stumbled across another set of steps that were going down again. I was freaking out, so I decided to finally open my eyes. Everything was red. I then looked down at my hands, and they were full of wrinkles, like the hands of my grandfather. Terrified, I rushed down the stairs, and at the end of them, there was no other way than up. Every time it was the same, up and down, up and down. I went up and down countless times until my weak and fragile body finally collapsed on the ground. I slowly fell unconscious as I felt something dragging me by the ankles down a set of stairs. I have a crippling fear of the cold, though few out here would consider me irrational for holding such a fear. For miles in every direction, the empty snow stretches out into infinity. Gray skies perpetually linger overhead, casting a steady snowfall down to the frigid earth beneath. Just before the horizon, the ice-filled sea lies barren and lifeless. Here, the cold has claimed many victims with their frozen grasp. Men go out, get lost in a sudden blizzard, and collapse in the pale snow. Their movements slowly decay to a futile shivering until they succumb entirely to the inhospitable temperatures. The cold takes no quarter, and her presence hangs as a constant reminder that nature had not meant for man to inhabit this region. I did not always fear the cold. My wife came down with a profound sadness since the birth of our first child and sits quietly in our shelter all day. I watch her silently with shimmering guilt. She never speaks or makes eye contact, just stares off into the dark. We have nothing to discuss. In the dead of the night, we lay apart, facing the chilled air rather than allowing ourselves to touch. The lack of intimacy takes a toll on both of us. Out here you need somebody to talk to. In crushing isolation, I stagger from the shelter to hunt. I pace out for miles onto the great white plains, driven by a faint desire to escape my circumstances. This longing tugs me along as I trudge through the dry air. I glance down at my footprints breaking through the crisp layer of snow. With a sudden ping of concern, I notice something is wrong. I have no shadow. Reeling with disbelief, I spin around, looking every which way for the familiar shade. The chilled sunlight seems to run right through me as though I were nothing at all. I look out over the frozen plains for any trace of my shadow. Snow blindness stings at my eyes until I shut them in defeat. As a bitter wind cuts across the few patches of exposed skin on my face, I feel the cold creeping up behind me. I swear I hear her inching closer. Back in the shelter, I sob. The empty hide cradles lay untouched in the corner of the room, and my wife helplessly watches my unrestrained cries. I fear the cold. Days later, I follow a set of caribou tracks. At my feet, my eyes still observe the distinct lack of a shadow. I have not seen a glimpse of it since it first vanished. With a shake of my head, I try to keep my mind focused on the hunt. The tracks lead up a sharp incline, and I concentrate to keep my steps from sliding back down the slope. At the top of the hill, I notice a distant silhouette watching. As I keep moving after the caribou, the shape stays in slow pursuit, following my tracks. I look at the thing with dread, realizing that I have at last found my shadow. Almost a week has passed since then, and my shadow still follows my every move, always just a few paces behind. I lay awake at night, watching the entrance to the shelter, dreading the day that it will crawl in through the opening. In the night, my eyes strain to make out any details of the darkness. Before me, I can feel my wife breathing deeply. I consider moving closer to conserve heat, but I dread any contact with her, as though the shadow might follow her too. When the morning comes, at last, I walk aimlessly from the shelter out into the snow. My wife watches with detached interest. I need to go where the fear began. As a fresh layer of snow tumbles down from the sky, I wander out, a clear destination scarred into my mind. The familiar shadow slithers up behind me, moving where I had just trodden moments before. Looking back, it shrinks down under the sunlight, practically invisible against the white plane of the earth. Picturing my target location in mind, I follow the frozen creek past crumbling structures of stones. The shadow thing peeks out from the rocks as I proceed past, still hanging around just behind me. With a deep shiver, I spot the place. A simple stone marks the ground, driven down through the snow by myself to leave some trace of what occurred there. Drawing closer, I find my steps shrinking shorter with each pace. Numbness settles in my fingers and toes by the time I make it to the site. I sit down by the decorated stone where it happened. This is where I killed our daughter. I brought the newborn out to this spot and abandoned her in the snow. We did not have food for her. Why couldn't she have been a son? As I sit down in the snow, the thing waits patiently just behind me. At last, I turn to look into her face, my eyes wearily gazing over her frostbitten features. The shadow being leans in closer, its chilled breath spilling out into my face. Expressionless, the cold embraces me. I feel her wrap me completely, and I dissolve into the flesh of the shadow, fading out with one last shiver. I fear the cold no longer,